Thank you for listening to that. There was a song called Hold On Tight from the Hindsight is 2020 album. So yeah, Happy New Year everyone. It was the New Year pretty early year in New Zealand, so I think you're one of the first countries to bring in the New Year. I had a gig with my friend Ben Fernandez. Ben incidentally played on the first Black Star Blues album. So it was good fun. It was like some R&B and soul stuff and a bit of pop as well, just to get people dancing and having a good time on New Year's Eve as you do. And then we did a Hendrixy kind of version of All Lang Syne, which is the traditional New Year's song. It was a good fun gig, but we got on pretty late, so I'm a bit underslept. So, in case you see my eyes doing that, I seek your apologies. Let's see who we got here. Pancham says he's going to put a reel today of my guitar solo of A Zindagi. That was actually a cover of an Ilyaraja song. So you're doing a cover of a cover. Good one. Mr. Demigod says Happy New Year. Wish you the same, bud. Brat says, what effects are you using for this tone? So the amp itself, I'll show you how that's dialed in. The amp itself sounds like this, just a bit of. Actually, no, I'll take out all that delay and stuff. Yeah, that's the amp without anything else. Then you put a bit of stereo delay. I think I'm using the Lexicon MPX one for that. Then I've got the Max One SD9 as a boost. And finally, you put that Univibe effect in, which I'm using as a dry bell vibe machine. So that's the main solo tone of the sound. And let me see if I can. The song started off with this very curious effect. I was kind of working with the harmonizer. Like you play one note and you get, two other notes. So, where is it? Yeah. So if you put it on, you'd like take, so you just take these two notes. And you put that harmonizer on and you kind of get this. So with that dotted effect, you kind of almost get like a synthy arpeggiator kind of. I think I used the harmonizer on the Helix for that. And this is the Eventide, which is a slightly older effect. Pancham says he wants me to have a listen. Sure, if I see it, I'll have a listen. But to be honest, you shouldn't really rely on me or anyone else having a look and giving you validation. You should just be happy with what you've done yourself. And, that's you keep on tagging people and say, check it out, check it out, check it out. It's not going to do any good for you. What you should probably be doing is if you feel it's good, then your job is well done. If you feel it's not quite there yet, then just put in the practice and get it sounding good to the point where you're happy with it. So rather than tagging other people about it, and just tag yourself. You would love to see Soloing Strategies episode 3. Well, tell me something though. If you've watched 2 episodes already, tell me something that you've learned from both those episodes. Because I think also the problem with is you keep on putting out content and stuff like that, and people expect new content, but there's a lot you can just get from just watching that first 2 episodes again, I would think. So in case you're waiting for an episode 3, watch the first 2 ones again, and in case you have got something from either of those 2, try and put it into use. Try and write a song or try and write a solo using that, and the time you spend waiting for episode number 3, you could actually be using the stuff that you got from episode 1 and 2. I think there's a fair bit of information. Those 2 episodes are pretty deep. So I don't think, it may be that you've exhausted both those. But yeah, I will do an episode 3 at some point. The whole thing is, when I do a video, I kind of have to want to say something, like conclusive in the sense that, here's an example of the soul, and that thing's going on in my head. So then I have a lot to talk about it. So the thing about me putting out videos just for the sake of having an episode 3 is kind of a bit pointless in the sense, unless there's something to say, I don't really go ahead and do it. So yeah, there's my weird effects. Let me take that out and see if we can find something. Pardon my squeaky chair though, needs a bit of grease. Moving on. This is more like an ambient sound from the eventide. So this I kind of use, it just makes very simple chords sound, very interesting. What effect is that? It's a long reverb from the eventide called Black Hole. Pancham says, when is another video of cool chord coming? When somebody writes a song with one of the episodes using a concept, share it one of those episodes and tags me, then I'm going to do another 3. So till then, I'm assuming that till someone writes a song using or even a chord progression or a riff, it's kind of I like to see stuff that I put out there being used in actual music rather than it just being something that people watch and then forget about it, because there's a lot you can actually do with a simple concept that you use. I think very often we don't really put it into practice, and putting it into practice is like a very important part of assimilating that information. Can't believe it's a week since the last live. Yeah, it's been a bit longer, right? Let me show you something really cool. So for my recordings, I've been using this thing called a Sir reactive load, which is like this box this big. If you Google it, you'll see what it is. That kind of lets me run these amps really loud and record them silently. So I've been using a software called Two Notes Wall of Sound, by the French company called Two Notes, and they have really good speaker models, speakers and mics. And I wanted a way of using that in a live situation if I have to take the amps or if I'm recording not in my studio. So now it's kind of connected, but I got this box called Two Notes Cab M, and I'm using it right now. But it comes with a software. So let me see if I can open that and maybe do a screen share. I think. Let me see. Where are we? It's opening. Khulja Simsim. What? Please connect the torpedo to your computer. Have I not done that? Sorry. I have to plug in that USB. I think it should be working now. Just let me know if the stream's working again. And I'll try doing the screen share one more time. It's showing me a green light here. Very good. Lovely. Okay, so check this out. Screen share. My display number 2. Where are we? Yep. Let me know if you can see this. It should be coming through. So this is the remote software of this 2 Notes Cab M. Okay. So the cabinet I'm using right now is this. It's made by this company called 2 Notes, and they did this profile of a Friedman cab, and this has got the Celestion G1265 speakers, and that's something I've been using for years and years. So I said, okay, this is a good starting point. And I put 2 mics that I normally use. So you can see a mic A is this SM7B by Shure, and this Ribbon 160 is a Bayer Dynamic M160 ribbon mic. So it lets you actually put 2 mics on the cab, and that's something I've been doing again. So this is just 1 mic on the cab. So that's the Shure, which is like a little bit more of a punchy sound. And then the Ribbon by itself is a slightly warmer sound. So when you put them together, you get this nice, full range kind of a thing. Well, not fully, but sounds pretty. So I made a bunch of presets, so this is the Friedman with G1265s, then this is a Friedman with vintage 30s. Actually, if I show it to you with the distortion sound, you'll hear the differences. So this is the first one. And this is the vintage 31. Then this is one with greenbacks. And this is another one with Celestion blackbacks. It's a Pete Thorn 4x12. Then this is with EV speakers. They were very popular in the 80s. So each of these cabs has 2 mics, and I just blend them in to. This is a nice one. It's a 4x10 with Jensen Alnico speakers. So it's nicer for these, slightly bluesier sounds. Or even clean sounds with this. Then this one is a Marshall 4x10. And what have we got? This is a Vox AC30 cabinet. And this is an old Gresh cabinet, I think. This is the 1x15. Just listen to the low end on that. I don't know if you've got headphones or if you're listening to it on speakers. Interesting sound. And this is a Tweed Deluxe. This is a 1x12 with an E. So you can see how much of a difference the speaker cab makes. I've gone through all these different presets, and I just got started making a whole bunch of them. So, it's kind of interesting how this whole thing works, but it's a very useful little gadget, especially if you've got a tube amp and a reactive load like I did. They also make this other box called the Captor X. So if you have a tube amp, you can just use that one box. Cool. So let's see if we can play you some music. I've been kind of going through Black Star Blues tracks and doing some practice because I've got some gigs in India after a very long time in Feb. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's play this one. This is an old. It I use the cab sim software for the New Year's gig? No, the New Year's gig I took my Boss Katana because after the gig I wanted to run away quickly because there's a huge traffic jam getting out of that place. So by the time I packed up like my Marshall and everything, it would have been a problem. And plus, a Marshall in that venue, it's like a, you know, not a very loud amp friendly kind of thing. So that Katana, I just took a line out into the PA, and I had enough volume to hear myself, and also we weren't really playing too loud, so I could hear myself very clearly. And then my guitar was going on the main PA system as well for the room to hear it. Any show in Bangalore? Yep, we are playing Bangalore on the 18th of February. And if you're in Delhi, we'll be playing there on the 19th. And Bombay, we're looking at the first weekend of March, Bombay, Pune. Did I check out the new Metallica? No, I did not check out the new Metallica track, sorry. I did check out this hilarious not remix, the mashup. This guy called Bill McClintock on YouTube. He makes the most hilarious mashups. So he did, I think, Metallica with Men at Work, Land Down Under. That's kind of doing the rounds on YouTube. And it's kind of sad on YouTube. There's a whole bunch of these accounts that just repost content that other people have made, and they don't really give credit for it. So no one's actually mentioned that it's a Bill McClintock mashup. And, bunch of people are resharing it and laughing and all that stuff, but no one really gives a shit about who made that in the first place, which is kind of sad. But yeah, the more people that know about, the actual creators, that's probably going to be at least good for the creators themselves. So yeah, my pet peeve. Yeah, just search YouTube for Bill McClintock and you'll see that. He's got a couple of other Metallica ones as well. They did one with this old Leo Sayer song called You Make Me Feel Like Dancing as well, which is hilarious. But he has a couple which actually stand up on their own as just great songs. He did one of Aretha Franklin with Aerosmith, this Sweet Emotion, and I forgot the name of the Aretha song. But that was amazing when she started wailing over that, that part of the riff. That bit, man, got a bit of goosebumps watching that. I mean, it's Aretha Franklin. You can't go wrong with that. If anyone actually plays, blues or rock guitar and hasn't heard Aretha Franklin, they probably should, because there's some really nice inspiration to be got from listening to that stuff. Especially all the 60s and 70s albums. I think there's some really good stuff in there. Late 60s, early 70s, just dig up all the Aretha stuff you can find. I mean, one of the best voices you'll ever hear in any genre. Which is why, you hear so many people who try to, sing her stuff, but just don't have the, what you would call in Hindi, they don't have the dum to pull that shit off. Have I missed anyone's questions? You're catching me at a very underslept time, because I think I went to sleep at around 4 a.m. and then I woke up not that late. Aukad, I don't know about Aukad. Aukad is like a slightly different word. I wouldn't use that. Which I kind of actually have a problem about that word's usage in a lot of places. It's more like a classist, and sometimes it's used in a very mean context. So yeah. No, I just guess they don't really have the I mean, if you listen to her sing, you'll know exactly what I mean. Yeah. Anyway, so I was going to play you some songs, and I got carried away talking nonsense. Here's some blues. this part, I'm just gonna play very major scale stuff. Now more bluesy. Yeah, that's always a good one. Happy New Year's to everyone who has wished, and I'm glad you're enjoying this live stream. Uh, do I have a seven string guitar? No, I do not have a seven string guitar because I find six strings hard enough to deal with. So I put another two strings and I'm going to be very confused. In fact, maybe I'll take off a couple of strings and, just play some bass. Or maybe just go down to one string and, you know, actually, something, playing melodies on a single string is a really good exercise because it forces you to think in this direction on the neck. So suppose you have a melody like, so you play, um, or even like, that kind of thing, just playing on one string. It's a really good exercise. Do I recommend getting a dynamic or condenser mic for vocal tracking? I would say if you are living in a soundproofed environment and you do not have the sound of traffic leaking into your house, um, a condenser mic would be a good idea. But if you don't, then you're probably better off with a dynamic mic. So what I've got here, what I'm using for this is a SM7B, which is a dynamic mic, but it does have a pretty good frequency response for vocal. So especially if you come this close and sing, you get a really nice, very sensitive sound. But it does need a really good mic preamp. So if you're plugging into like a cheaper interface, the mic pre's on those things may not really be that good, because this needs at least around 50 or 60 dB of clean gain to get the best out of it. What was the song I just played? It was called E Major Blues from an album called The Universe Has a Strange Sense of Humor. So that came out, I think, in 2015. So in a couple of years, it'll be 10 years old, that song. I did write it actually much before. So maybe it's been around 10 years since I've written that song. I think it was probably in the around the time just after the second album came out. So yeah, it's definitely more than 10 years since I wrote that song. But since it came out, yeah, it's always been a good staple to play live. I don't think there's been that many gigs where we haven't played it, because it lets you improvise quite freely. There's a version on YouTube as well you could check out. It's from the Gear House sessions. That's worthwhile looking at. Stereo is giving a nice trip. Yeah, man, it's always better sound quality, especially now since I figured out this buffer setting and everything for YouTube. It seems to be behaving itself today. A couple of the earlier streams, the video started lagging and everything, but I definitely prefer the sound quality on YouTube versus the Instagram thing. Because Instagram, first of all, you have to do it from the phone. You can't do it from unless you use some, what's it called, Yellow Duck or something, some software. But the YouTube stereo audio does sound better, definitely. Maybe I'll give you some stereo goodness from the Eventide. How does that sound in stereo? Let me know. Nadi the band says, "Dear Warren, as a guitar player, did you ever come across a phase, where you know that you want to play it but are not able to translate that on the fretboard?" Yeah, that happens for sure. How do you overcome that? So here's what happens is, if you hear a phrase in your head, okay, say, and you don't really know where it lies, first of all, you need to know what key you're playing that in. Okay, so you know the key. Then you maybe need to find the first note of that phrase. And from that first note, the next note, if you're able to tell the distance from that first note to the second note, then you're able to get to the next note, and so on and so forth. So what you need to then work on is something called ear training. And ear training, specifically in the term I'm using it refers to the ability to recognize an interval. So say I hear a phrase, say in the key of E. I hear a phrase that goes bo, do, 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 do. So that would go, and then I hear another phrase that goes da 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 da. So I've played guitar enough to know like where those phrases lie under my finger. So now say I don't know where that lies, and I know the first note is an E, and the second note of that phrase is boom boom. So that is one whole tone away from there, the distance between those, and then you dum da da da. And then that kind of a distance. So your ability to track the next note from the previous note is something that you would then work on. So what I would do is, in a situation like that, is to create a backing track of, like, say, a chord sequence, and then hum out things and record your humming. And sometimes your humming is like not completely in tune, but it's enough to know, to give you an idea of A, the rhythm of what you're singing, and B, the notes of where they should be. And then you can go back and line by line work out, that phrase. And if you keep on doing that enough, you'll start being able to hear it in your head, and then not too long after play it on the fretboard. So then there's a little bit of a latency, the time from where you hear it in your head to the time where you're able to reproduce that. And then you slowly work on reducing that latency to where it almost becomes instantaneous. Like as you hear it in your head, you can play it. Now there are still phrases and things I hear in my head which I'm not able to play, and that's what I work on in terms of practicing things. And if I hear a thing like a diminished RPG or something, or maybe I've heard someone else play it, then maybe I can just flick it across to one of my more knowledgeable friends and say, what's going on here? And they'll say, oh, they're using this scale or something like that, or whatever. They'll, kind of steer me in the right direction. And then it's up to me to work on that and put in the time. Because without doing that, you don't really, get to a point where you can play whatever you hear in your head. So you're just reducing the latency basically. Rohit saying that, oh, that reverb thing is ethereal. Cool. I'll play you some more. You can feel transported again. I like the sound of thing. You can play very minimally, and the notes get elongated. I'm just going between D and G basically. Does anyone recognize which song this is from? It's the outro of "Ode to a Sunny Day." Did I try some of the Strymon stuff? I did. I still do have the Strymon Timeline, which is a great pedal. But for most of my studio needs, I've got these rack units. I'll show you a picture. This is an older picture of the rack. Where is it? Yeah, so you can see that there's three effect units underneath that power system. The first guy is that Lexicon MPX one, which I use for delay. Then there's a PCM 70, which I use for reverb most of the time. And then that Eventide does all the special effects stuff. So that reverb which I'm using right now is from the Eventide H3000, the guy with the calculator buttons. And that preset is called Black Hole. Stereo sounds amazing on headphones. Yeah. You can see the influences of Here Comes the Sun. The Here Comes the Sun bit is not in that bit. Where it is, I'll show you to you, is in this. Where you go to this. That's the Here Comes the Sun thing. Because if you, you go to this part and Here Comes the Sun. That it's alright. That bit, if you slow it down and move it into a 3/4 or a 6/8, from 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. And if you slow that down and and I didn't even realize it till a couple of years later, because when I was writing the song, I moved my fingers in this thing. I was just looking at these, like where you keep one string open, the whole Alex Lifeson thing, and just move the chords around. So very often I would play G major like this, for example, because then I'd kind of have that D over F sharp and the E minor. Sure, let's see who can tell me which song this is. It's an old Dave Matthews Band song. I kind of forgot the name of the song though. I remember. And even in songs like Older, Wise and Grey, where you've got that, using those intervals, which is basically what you would call a tenth, where you've got your root here and then the third is right on top. But it sounds really cool if you put on like a bunch of, some ambient stuff on it. So all that bit is where the Here Comes the Sun influence in this. I mean, you're kind of just going between D and G. There's only so many notes in a major scale. I think I missed some. Yeah, did I try the Valhalla Supermassive? Yeah, the Valhalla stuff is really good. I use the what's it called? The vintage verb on pretty much every mix I do. In some way or the other, it gets used. So even that vintage verb has got some really nice, massive spaces, which are nice. And he is very influenced by the lexicon stuff. So, having been a long time lexicon reverb user, I can, already have a natural affinity for all the Valhalla stuff. And that Supermassive thing, if I'm not mistaken, was a free plugin. So there's some really cool sounds in that. Now I'll show you another cool thing as well. So say you've got a smaller reverb, like going back to this room. Alright, it did not. Alright, sorry, take out that eventide. Okay, so this is the normal reverb I would use. Like a really, like around just under 2 seconds of reverb time. Now what you can do is if you put a bunch of, stereo delays, what I would normally do is I think a quarter note on one side and a dotted 8 on the other side. And then blend that in. So then you get this really nice tail, And then you maybe add the auto swell and you get this really nice thing. And I use this sound a lot. And so like a song like North Star, for example, the main guy would go like, and so on and so forth. I'd kind of blend this in like underneath it. So you get this nice, very wide stereo image, and that main guitar part remains clear without getting washed out. What do you got here? Is it possible for me to play a tiny bit of Sky? Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one to play only on guitar. The way I wrote it, because I'll play it very slowly. You can see how tricky it is. It goes like without the swell. So you go. So this chord here, it's like a C add ninth. So when you pick it, you got to go. So you play the G string first, then the E string, and then the B. So you go 3, 1, 2 in terms of string order. And then, so you're kind of using that E note like normally you would play it here, but you're kind of using the open string. Three chord song. Stratman says he rang in the New Year with Ode to a Sunny Day. That's cool, man. It's a nice song to kind of take stock of the year gone by, right? Think about all the shit that you got up to in the past year and then look forward to some. That's kind of pretty much what the song is about, right? It's kind of looking and kind of healing from all the shit that's happened in your life and then looking forward. That last bit of the song is looking forward to, where things get better. There has to be some kind of a happy ending. It can't be all like shit is happening to me. It's like shit's happening to me. I'm getting over it and things are going to get better from here. Most people were reluctant to switch from amps to full digital modelers, but the adoption of tube amps heads plus digital IRs has been much a smoother sell. Well, I'll tell you my thoughts on it. They may not be 100%, scientifically accurate. Now, if you look at a guitar signal is a tiny, in terms of voltage, it's a tiny little minuscule little thing. So when it gets into the amp, it's kind of blown up into a huge voltage enough to drive a speaker cab. And that's like, several times in terms of an amplification factor. Now, the first thing your guitar hits in a digital processor is an analog to digital converter. So there's probably like some kind of an analog buffer or something where your guitar signal hits that and then it's converted into digital. What you could try on any modeler is, like say you've got a somewhat distorted sound like this. Listen to the softest sound your pick can make on it. Like, even like just about touching the string and getting some clarity in that tiny sound. Most modelers, I find the moment you go below a certain level, it's like, forget about you, It doesn't really, it's like basically all the rich people get in and all the poor people, now fuck off you. You're not required here. The tube amps takes like everyone, even all the poor people, everyone comes in and it kind of, gives everyone some muscle. So, then when you take that tube amp signal, load it down, and then put that into a digital converter, that entire process has done something to your guitar sound where even then those softer notes get through. If you are only playing with your guitar volume on full and you're only playing at one volume all the time, and you have one sound which is very clean and you have one sound which is very distorted, you're not really going to have that much trouble with a modeler. You'll be fine with an Axe-Fx. So if you're playing that kind of more, modern metal where the distorted sounds are like really distorted, and then your clean sounds are like really clean and spanky, and you'll be fine. You're not really missing a tube amp. Where you're going to miss the tube amps is where you're playing stuff like which goes from like and you want all of that to come through, then you're going to have trouble with the modeler. So that's my thoughts on it. What's my favorite John Mayer song? It's a song called Another Kind of Green from that trio Try album, I think. Fuck, I forgot that last chord. Check it out. It's a really nice song. Good Stevie Ray kind of a riff in that. Um, you're buying your first strat from Ishibashi, looking at my videos, any good deals, any heads up? Okay. Well, if you're buying a strat, probably look at those made in Japan ones. 80s, 90s, there's good stuff to be had there. I mean, Ishibashi kind of like vets the guitars as well, mostly. So, if you have any questions, just ask them what's the condition of the neck? Is it straight? And normally they list it. If there's any problems, they'll say, there's a problem with this. If you can try and find a strat with a nitro finish and 6-point, that's at least my preference. You'd be, happy with anything else. But generally, if you get a nitro finish and the 6-point bridge, you should be good to go. So just have a look around and see what they've got. Have I tried one of those tube and a pedal things? I don't remember actually. When it comes to pedals, generally I've been happy with the the solid state pedals and into a tube amp, because again then those two they like, even this guy. This is a really good sounding pedal, this Tube Screamer Mini, So into the right amp. Obviously, it's not going to sound the same going into, like, say, my Katana, for example. It's a B7 sus4, I think, that last chord. I have no idea what song you're talking about. Oh, you're talking about the John Mayer one. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's the last chord there. So it's open E, then on the A string 11th fret, D string 9th fret, G string. I'm tuned down a half step, by the way. This is my E flat guitar. So it's 11, 10, 11 on the A, D, and G, and then B. That's the open thing. What was the reverb pedal on my board? It was the Digitech RV7 hardwire reverb. It's still there on, but now I've split my board into the main drive pedals. I'll tell you what I've got on my live board. It is a Maxon SD9. There's a prototype of a pedal I'm working on with a local builder called the Slight Return. So that, and there's an AC booster. So 3 drive pedals. Then I've got the Drybell Vibe Machine and the Arion Chorus. And then the HX Stomp is on that board. And then I have another wet board with a Timeline, Eventide H9, and that Digitech reverb. So sometimes if I'm doing a smaller setup and there's not that much space on stage, playing on a smaller stage, then I just take one board. And then I do the reverb and delay from the HX Stomp. And then if there is place on stage, I'll take both boards. And then, the HX Stomp will then do stuff like, Octavia or pitch shift or, all the extra stuff. Can I recommend an electric guitar for pop and blues singer-songwriters? Probably look at a Telecaster or some kind of an ES335 thing, I would think. Because with the 335, you get a little bit of that slightly acoustic kind of thing, especially if you're used to playing acoustic guitar. And the same thing with the Telecaster, you can kind of, dig into it and, it won't like fall apart. Especially if you put some, Teddy sir, can you, Teddy, again, this teddy bears going on. I think this dude is obsessed with some, he's got some weird fetish, I think. Can you play some BB King or Albert King style backing track? No, not right now. I'm a bit brain dead. I'm like very sleep deprived. So I cannot take any requests today. I'm barely managing to string together coherent sentences, and then to, take requests without people throwing money at me is like, it's not happening right now. but I can play some other blues. Let me see what I got here. Sure, now why not? We'll pull out this old Polar from this album. 2 and 1 and one playing, and then the whole song will be done, and I'll miss everyone's questions. Happy New Year to those who have come in late and wished. Um, you like a cleanish, overdriven kind of sound. So what type should you use? You can just drop your guitar volume and get any overdrive to clean up. Anyone will do it. So see if that helps. New Year's Day by U2. I actually don't know how to play. I never heard that song. There's very little. The only like really U2 I got into, there was this album called Pop. I think that came out in the 90s. I used to love that album. They had this really cool riff which went like. When it's saying deciding between an American standard versus Japanese, I would say just get the Jap. Especially if you're at Ishibashi, you'll probably get a better price on that because those guitars are made for the Japanese market. And if you're buying from Japan, you're kind of going to get a much better value for your money buying a Jap Strat from Japan. Let me see. Have I missed anyone's questions? In case I have missed your questions, please list them again. Joshua Tree is definitely a great album. Even that, what's that? There's a song they did from that Batman Forever soundtrack. We used to play that song. Wow. It's called Hold Me, Kill Me, Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me. If you haven't heard that, that's probably one of my favorite U2 songs. There's quite a few bands that people really love and I don't really get, like Coldplay, for example. My brother is a big Coldplay fan, especially that first, what's that album? Was it Parachutes or was it some XY or something like that? He used to play that in the car all the time. I was like, it's okay. So, the way I see it is like you don't really have to like everything that people like. You just find the stuff that you do and you listen to it because life is short. Why do you waste time listening to stuff that you don't? I mean, you can always try listening to stuff, which you haven't heard before. And then if you like it, then you keep on listening to it. If you don't, then you move on to something else. If I could do a Spotify playlist, I don't use Spotify. I use Apple Music though. And I had put out a playlist with my early influences that maybe I can post it again. It's still there. How to get a Van Halen tone from an HSS Strat? Well, you need to play like him. I mean, if you give Van Halen an HSS Strat, I'm sure he'd be able to sound like himself. So there's a lot in the, you ask questions like how to get that kind of a sound, you need to play like that guy. So maybe use like 9 to 42 and then lighten up on your right hand attack where you can play like Eddie. I've noticed like there's a few people who can do that style from the right hand and then they nail that sound no matter what they play through. I'm sure if you give him my guitar right now, like take this, he'll sound like himself. I mean, look at this sound, what I've got right now. This is a Maxon OD9, that's like a tube screamer into a slightly distorted amp. Let's put that phase 90 on and see what. I mean, it's not 100% exactly like his sound. Let's try this slightly floppier pick, Tortex yellow. And here I'm playing a 3 single coil guitar even. Can I recommend a good budget overdrive pedal? Well, the Boss SD1. I mean, if you plug it into the right amp, it's a brilliant pedal. So the amp needs to be slightly distorting and you don't expect the pedal to, And if you want a pedal that does most of the work, no matter what you plug it into, then try out the full tone OCD. Though I think they're out of production now. But maybe you can find a used one floating around and, get your hands on that. That amp, that pedal I found even through a Stranger amp, but I could get it sounding pretty good. There's a video on my YouTube channel called Stranger Things about this whole Strange amp that my dad got from India to New Zealand. When he was getting all our stuff sent here, he included the stranger amp in the cargo. So I'm like, Dad, why did you get a stranger amp to New Zealand? You'll get like much better amp. He's saying, oh, it's working now. It works fine. He's got like a very utilitarian attitude. If it works, why do you need another amp? It works fine. So he's got that, and he's got that old Marshall amp that my brother and me used to play through. That Valve State 40, which is actually pretty good sounding thing. I should make a video for that. It would be quite cool. Siddharth says, nice democratic approach to band building. Coldplay took equal pay, democratic writing process, or so they say. Yeah, that's all worthy things. If they made a lot of music that I would enjoy, that would kind of take precedence, though. I mean, I'm not bagging on them by anything. It's just I don't really, and I don't really expect myself to dig everything equally. There are things I'd like more than others, so I kind of concentrate on those things. And I kind of like some weird music also that other people think is like quite weird and like, what the fuck are you listening to that for? But I like it, so to each their own. My point is just that you don't have to like everything that's popular. And it doesn't really make you like superior or something if you don't, just because you've got like more, shall we say, elite listening taste. Now, fuck all that. I listen to like everything from like, kids' music to ABBA or whatever, like some really some stuff that people would call cheesy or whatever. I still dig all that. But yeah, I don't really get too deep into analyzing why I like it and why I don't or whatever. If I like it, I like it. Though, coming back to that recommendation, and if you go to the last episode, I think last or the one before that, I pulled out my old case logic of CDs, and I showed you a whole bunch of really nice albums. So if you want, you can very easily put those album names into Spotify and, consider the fact that I had to buy all that stuff on CD to get to listen to, and now on Spotify, you just go and enter the name. So if you want me to do the entry also of the name and all, it's a little... yeah. Anyway, I think I've got through everyone's questions. So I am going to take your leave and wish you a very happy new year. There's the last question. In a band setting, is the purpose of a keyboard player just to fill the harmonic space? Bro, go listen to a band called Return to Forever. And maybe listen to some Toto. Listen to some Deep Purple, obviously. And then get back to me about that question. So yeah, wish you everyone a very happy new year. I hope you get lots of practice time. You get some time to come up with some riffs that you enjoy playing. Just have a really good time playing guitar and just be excited about playing. And if you don't play guitar also, that's fine. I won't hold that against you. So chalo, see you guys. I'm probably going to crash very soon. My brain is like screaming for sleep right now. So it's probably a good idea to get at least a few hours of sleep tonight. Chalo, see you guys. Thank you for